Parents, when did your child's partner win you over? When my daughter Ellie brought home Marcus for the first time, something felt off. Maybe it was his perfectly pressed clothes or the way his answers seemed rehearsed. Everything about him screamed, putting on a show. He's studying law, Mom, Ellie had said, eyes bright with admiration, and he volunteers at the animal shelter on weekends. I nodded politely, but couldn't ignore the knot in my stomach. My husband Tom thought I was being ridiculous. Give the kid a chance, he'd whispered while doing dishes after dinner. Remember how your father treated me? But this wasn't the same. I couldn't explain it, but Marcus seemed to have two faces, one for Ellie and one for when she wasn't looking. Little glances at his watch when she spoke, slight eye rolls at her enthusiastic stories. 6 months into their relationship, Ellie announced they were moving in together. I tried to mask my horror with a smile. That's soon, don't you think? I managed. When you know, she replied with that stubborn tilt of her chin, the same one she'd had since childhood. The day they moved into their apartment, I brought over a houseplant and homemade lasagna. Marcus answered the door, phone pressed to his ear. Yeah, just the mother-in-law, he said to whoever was on the line, barely acknowledging me as he walked away. Mother-in-law? They weren't even engaged. The presumption made my skin crawl. Months passed, and I tried. God knows I tried. Sunday dinners became an exercise in restraint as I watched him subtly undermine her. Ellie's not much of a cook, he'd say with a laugh, or she's always running late. Drives me crazy. Tom would squeeze my knee under the table when my smile grew too tight. Then came the thunderstorm, not a metaphorical one, a literal downpour that flooded our basement at 2 a.m. Tom was away on business, and I found myself alone, frantically moving photo albums and heirlooms to higher ground as water seeped through the foundation. In desperation, I called Ellie. 20 minutes later, headlights illuminated my driveway. But it wasn't just my daughter who emerged from the car. Marcus was with her, wearing sweatpants and rain boots. Where do you need us? He asked, already rolling up his sleeves. For 3 hours, we formed a chain, Marcus wading through the deepest water, passing boxes to Ellie, who handed them to me on the stairs. No complaints, no checking his watch, just determined efficiency. Around 5 a.m., with the worst of it contained, we collapsed in my kitchen. I made coffee while Ellie dozed at the table. She would have come alone, I said quietly. Marcus looked up from his mug. I know. You didn't have to be here. He was silent for a moment. Mrs. Chen, I understand you don't like me much. I started to protest, but he shook his head. It's okay. I probably wouldn't like me either, from your perspective. He glanced at my sleeping daughter, but I love her, and I know how important you are to her. The simple honesty caught me off guard. I'm trying to be worthy of her, he added softly. I'm not always good at it. Something shifted in that moment. Not a complete transformation, but a crack in the wall I'd built. I saw vulnerability in him for the first time. Thank you for coming tonight, I finally said. He nodded, then gently woke Ellie. Come on, sleepyhead. Let's get you home. As they left, I watched him wrap his arm around her shoulders, whispering something that made her laugh despite her exhaustion.